Okay, the adhesion promoter's flashed for 15 minutes. I'll go ahead and put one medium coat on all these areas. I'll come back and I'll probably put only two on the minor scratches, but I'm going to put a third coat most likely over this area right here that I filled. Alright, I've got the front bumper ready to go. You can see my feather edges here. It's almost got like just a splotchy feather edge to it. That's what the adhesion promoter looks like when you spray it on. So it's more of a bond here than an actual sanded feather edge. Normally I would sand into the primer on the bumper with 400 grit to feather, for it to set into the primer and give an area to feather edge to blend together. But this is all raw plastic, this one and the rear one. Pretty much every Toyota bumper or Lexus comes raw. So I can't sand this really enough to do a normal feather edge, so I had to spray adhesion promoter over it. I think I used a red pad all the way out into here. So I've got enough of a bite there, but it's not quite a normal feather edge. You can see the texture to it there. It's perfectly slick right in there, but it looks a little different. I forgot to mention that I've actually finished this area out with 600 grit. Once I didn't really block this area out, it was already slick enough, so I just did all this by hand. I put a little guide coat on it, cut it down with 400 up to the feather edges, and then I came back over with 600, just extended that out, got all my 400 grit out, and all this into here is 600, and the rest of it's just the gray pad like this, wet with the scuff stuff paste. So the whole area that's going to be painted, I got gray pad and scuff stuff. And I got what I could down in here. This is not really a big deal. Adhesion promoter will actually make it stick to this pretty well. I sanded the large areas that I could, but this is going to get covered with a fog lamp bezel anyway, so really only matters up into this edge and then down inside here where it's going to be able to peel. You got to get down inside there for sure, but this molding in here for the light and the bezel's not that big a deal. It's never going to get exposed to anything really. This is all 600. I think there's one spot over here I had also 600 grit in that. And I'll reapply adhesion promoter to the whole bumper once I get ready to paint it, and that's got to sit for 15 minutes. I'm getting ready to just rinse the dust off this one from it sitting around, but I'm getting ready to sand this one out. I've got a bucket of water here just to dunk it in, and scuff stuff here. I'm going to put on the scuff pad. Just going to go around the whole thing. Start over here inside the wheel well area. Work my way all the way across, just so I don't miss any areas. And this thing will need to be rinsed really well, and I'll just let it sit here, and I'll probably wipe it off so I don't get any water spots on it that end up showing in the paint or something. I'll just dry it off and maybe blow it the rest of the way. That way I get most of the bulk of the water off, and then let it sit here and dry for a couple days. It's Wednesday night now, and I'm going to plan to paint this Saturday afternoon, so I'll give it plenty of time to sit here and dry, and I'll end up having to clean them again anyway. Probably with alcohol, and then one of my static control wipes right before paint. So I'm going to go ahead and start scuffing this. Next thing will be these ready to paint. Alright, rear bumper's ready to go. All I need to do now is get cards out of here, get the curtains closed up, we're going to get ready to spray. You might be wondering why I don't just scuff it with a gray pad, which is essentially all it needs. But there's possibly mold release agent on it or something else that is on there from the factory that you need to clean off. And that scuff stuff actually has soap and stuff built in and a little bit of abrasive, so it sands it in and cleans it at the same time. The best thing to do is use hot water with it, but unless you've got a hot water line where you can run it through a hose or whatever. You really can't get the bumper all that hot with just a bucket of hot water, because as you sand it, it just runs right off and doesn't have time to heat it up. I think another way that Axalta, used to be DuPont, would tell you to do that would be to heat the bumper up, or any plastic part, I think to maybe 140 degrees for 20-30 minutes. Just bake out whatever might be soaked into it. But obviously I can't do that, so this is the next best thing. So I really need 2 of these racks to hold both of these in the orientation they'll be on the car. But I think I can get this one fairly close. I'm just going to hang it off the front like this, and down here I'm going to attach this tab to here with some wire, and that'll hold it in this position. And I'll try to just close up the rack even more just to get it a little bit higher off the floor. Higher the better. But they're ready to go. I had this rack already set for this one, so I'm just going to leave this one on here instead of swapping. And this one's not going to be able to sit on that rack in that position like it needs to, so I'll just leave that one there. I'd love to have another rack like this, but I think this one was over $400, and I rarely ever need to do 2 bumpers at once. Be back when I'm ready to spray. Alright, I've got the bumpers ready for the Venza. I just finished wiping down the rear bumper with one of these alcohol static control wipes. I'm going to do the same thing on the front one. I'll be painting each bumper here, but as I spray one, I'll move and pull the other one into this position here. I like to do them right in the center of the room here if I can. So I'll just rotate them in and out as I spray. We'll go do that on the front. Then I'll hit both of these with the XXX adhesion promoter. I've sprayed this in the liquid form through a gun, but it clogs it up really bad, so I've gone straight back to the cans. I only did that once. I do want to try to deal with that again, so this should be plenty for this. I need to get some more, but you do have to watch spraying a large area with a spray can, because the pressure's dropping in this can the entire time you're spraying it. So I may have to wait a few minutes in between, but I think I'll probably be able to get it out of it in one shot. Okay, the rear bumper's been tack ragged. I'm going to go ahead and spray it on there. Then I'll go do the front one off camera. And while these are flashing for 15 minutes, I'll go get my paint suit on and come back and mix up the sealer. Alright, I'll finish that one up in a second here. Be back when they're ready to seal. Alright, I'm getting ready to mix up the sealer. I finally broke down and bought some of this flex additive, plastic 2350S. This lists for about $150 a quart. I think I paid $100 for this quart. And that's the main reason I haven't bought it till now. But I'm tired of not having it when I do need it. So I've got some in stock now. It should last me a while. It's about 1 to 2 ounces per sprayable pint or quart, depending on the coating. You can put it in anything that's 2K except the base coat. They say not to put it in the base coat for whatever reason. I think it's just thin enough it doesn't need it. I'm going to probably mix up maybe 1 pint of sealer, put 1 ounce in it. I think it's 1.5 max on the sealer per sprayable pint that's already mixed. I'm going to throw 1 ounce in it and see how it works. It's supposed to slow cure time just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and probably use just the regular temperature range on the hardener, since this will help slow it down anyway. And we'll see how it lays out and how long it takes to cure. But on some really flexible parts, especially on these bumpers where I think she might back into something again, I don't want the paint to crack if I have to re-repair it. This would be good to have in it, so I'm going to give it a shot on this job. Now I've got the sealer mixed with the flex additive. Go ahead and do the rear first. Then I'll move the front one over here in its place. We'll see how long this takes to cure. I'm fighting a lot of static today. Even with that static reduction wipe, I'm having to wipe a little bit of the dust off as I go, and that tack rag adds a little static back to it. But after this sealer dries, it should be okay. Alright, front one's been tacked again. I'm also going to do a spray out card here of everything I apply to these bumpers. So I'm going to do the flexible sealer, and I'll shoot some base over this, and then the flexed clear over that, and I'll see what happens after I get done and let it cure for a while. See how flexible it is. I can bend this card so I can test it that way. I'm going to let that cure with it. I'll be back to put some base coat on all this. Alright, it's ready for some silver. I don't think I mentioned why I used gray sealer, but value shade on this base coat was 4, so that's right at the midpoint for the gray sealer. It goes from 1 to 7. I'm going to go ahead and tack it off again. It's only been curing about 30 minutes, but that flex additive I don't think slowed the cure time all that much. I only used about half as much as you can possibly put in there. I think it was 1.5 ounces per pint. I used about half that. I don't want to go to the full max on this experiment here. But that should be enough to at least give it some flexibility. I'm going to go ahead and tack it, and I'll get to spraying. All right, I think one more coat and a drop coat ought to get it on that. All right, there's a good bit of lint in it just from the static, so I'm going to go around with a piece of 1000 grit wet and just get all the dust nibs out that are obvious, and probably from about the midpoint of the back all the way around that point up. Anything underneath, not really going to be that big a deal. She's not too picky anyway, but I'm going to go through and do that on this. Same thing on the front. Now that the static is pretty much under control, I can do that, and I shouldn't get a whole lot more in it. But I'll be back when I got this ready to put the second coat on. I got to do it before this. If I do it after my second coat, then my drop coat won't cover up the scratches enough, and you'll be able to see it. So I'll be back in a minute. Alright, I'm ready for the next coat. This is what it looks like after I scuffed it. I just went and got the noticeable dust nibs out, and then I ran over the large areas just by hand with 1000 grit, just to sort of level it off while I had the sandpaper out. That'll allow it to come out slicker anyway. Same thing with the front. This is only one coat of base. I've wiped it down with water-based wax and grease remover after that. I don't want to take any of the material off with the regular solvent-based. I had to wait about 30-45 minutes for that to set up to where I could sand it. And now it's about pushing 2 o'clock. It's 1:50. I'm going to go ahead and get the color on this. I got a customer coming by at 3, so I'm going to need to get the color on now. Try to get it to where it's cured about 30 minutes before I can clear it. Try to clear it around 2:30, 2:45. Get this stuff done where I can meet this customer. going to the front one. I'll be back when I'm ready for clear. Alright, first coat of clear. One more coat in about 5 or 10 minutes. I got that flex additive in there too, so I got to wait a little bit longer. Okay, this is about 30 minutes off the gun. Had a bug get in it right in here. I had to get out, so there's a little bit of a spot here where I got him out, and I put another coat of clear. I have to block that off, polish it. Shouldn't be a problem. And the rear looks about the same. I'm going to get the reflectors put in this and then probably start with the rear bumper, since it's going to be simpler just to put those two reflectors in and get it on the car. Get it out of the way, then I'll build up the front, put the grill in it. Be back when I get them on the car, show you the final product. Alright, here's the spray out card. I've already been flexing it a little bit, but it's been sitting up a little more than 2 days. You can see there's plenty of clear there. It's got 2 coats just like the bumpers did. I'm folding it all the way over on itself. I might be able to crack it if I creased it, but that right there should be way more than enough to crack it. At 2 days, it should be hard enough to crack by now. So So I'm going to give this probably another couple of weeks. Just go set it off to the side somewhere and come back and check it later. But if I get any different results later, I'll let you guys know. But for right now, I'm going to assume that's good. It's a lot more flexibility than I have ever seen out of paint with no flex additive. But anyway, I'll let you know if I find anything different. We're going to go with that. Alright, I just washed it last night. It's been sitting almost a whole day. Customer's coming to pick it up tomorrow morning. I have to flip it around and show you the rear in a second here. You can't see anything back there. Color matched really well. Ended up putting about 3 coats and a drop coat on it. A little bit of a flop difference here, but you get it at the right angle and it's perfectly fine. About the best you're going to get with button match on a silver. You can see that. Get down here. It's looking better. But without blending into the fender, it's about as good as you're going to get. I'll go turn it around, let you see the back just a second here. Alright, here's the rear. Color actually matched even better back here for whatever reason. That's it. It's ready to pick up. Catch you on the next one.